podcasting from the great city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, home of the Philadelphia Eagles. This is the TeacherCast Podcast. Hello, everyone. This is Jeff Bradbury, and welcome to another edition of the TeacherCast Podcast from TeacherCast.net. The TeacherCast Podcast is a weekly show where we discuss the 21st century technologies that we need to utilize in our 21st century classrooms. Today we're going to be talking to the Wired Educator himself, Kelly Croy. Kelly is a middle school teacher from the great state of Ohio, where he has a very interesting style of teaching. He's a dynamic public speaker and performer, and recently was named as an Apple Distinguished Educator. Kelly, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Great, Jeff. Thanks for having me on.
And how are things out in Ohio this afternoon?
Great. Had a beautiful day. Got a little bit of storms rolling in right now.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. You teach middle school, correct?
Correct. I'm a 7th grade English teacher. I've been teaching English for 20 years. I've been using technology in the classroom since my first year, but these last few years, Jeff, have just been incredibly exciting. Getting Apple MacBooks and iPads and iPod Touches and getting devices in the hands. I feel like a first-year teacher again, excited, ready to take on the world.
I've had a lot of people on this show talk about the beginning of the school year and getting ready with new technology. Do you feel that you're doing the same lessons just with different toys?
Well, yes and no. I'm a big advocate for teachers to use technology. And so the first thing I want to tell a teacher who might be a little apprehensive to take on technology in their classroom that doesn't have a lot of confidence or experience with it is that you do not really have to do things a lot different than what you're already doing. But on the other hand, you're not going to be doing the same things. The biggest change, I think, for me and for any teacher that's going to use technology is we're no longer that sage on the stage. We're the guide on the side, and we're leading the students through an adventure of learning with technology rather than being the director of traffic. And that's probably the hardest thing for me because I do like to speak to people, and I do like the lecture part of teaching. But changing your style of education to assist a learner to create discoveries kind of on the fly is rewarding in its incredible own way.
I like that quote there, the adventure of learning. That's a good one.
And that's what it is. When it comes to life, we're not going to get a job or chase a dream where the answers are in the back of the book or there's always a formula to figure things out. What we really need to teach students to do, and I think technology does a fantastic job of this, is to communicate and to communicate well and to communicate in a way that's engaging and exciting and to collaborate with others. I mean, that's what we use technology for. It doesn't matter if you're creating a podcast or a website or even an app for an iPhone or iPad. You are creating, you're communicating, and you have to. The whole nature of technology is to collaborate with others. That's why we get on Skype or Facebook or Twitter, and those are the two biggest components in the classroom that I think are going to take students to be successful, and most importantly, to achieve the dreams that they really want to make. And technology is just just what a great vehicle to do that. Just exciting times, and we've always had technology, but we've never had it as exciting as it is today and as available. And I think those are just two of the biggest keys.
You said you've been teaching 20 years, and our show really caters to that teacher that says, I just got this iPad. I don't know what to do with it. I've even had, good conversations with people who bought that iPad and then kind of left it on the side, and it was a glorified paperweight for a few weeks before using it. As an English teacher, could you give us an example of maybe a lesson that you've done for the last 20 years that maybe has changed a little over the last couple of years with technology?
Well, sure. I guess to address the first part of your question, what to do, we have this very expensive paperweight on our desk or on our students' desk, is, I kind of want my students and I kind of want teachers that I work with to be like astronauts. If you ever look inside a spaceship, there's just full of buttons. And anytime you watch a movie about space travel, those people are flipping every button that's inside that nose of that spacecraft. And that's what you need to do when you get technology. You need to flip every switch, turn every knob, hit every key, and just try to figure out what happens when I do this. You know, Jeff, as well as I do, you're not going to break it. and you're going to learn. You're going to discover. And don't be afraid to ask the students, because they know so much. And that's part of learning. They share with you, you share with them. For me, I love literature. And that's probably my favorite part of being an English teacher. And I also love writing. And, now with blogging, and, it used to be when a student wrote a paper, it at best saw me. It was shared in some way with my small class. It might be shared with a relative, a family member, and then eventually, if it got a great grade, it would get displayed on the refrigerator, which we know was the central communication hub of every home. But now with technology and all the social networking, we really have an opportunity to take a student's work and create it in an even more exciting way. They can still write, but they can add video and art and all their other interests. Students might be interested in music, and they can fit this in to a really creative writing assignment that gives them a chance to show their personality, to put their signature on it. And then the real key is not to just deliver it to the teacher, that they have a real audience that can give them feedback, and it can be big. I mean, we see all the time YouTube videos that they say go viral, and they're seen all the way around the world. And, my goal, I hope to go another 20 years of teaching. I want some of my students' work to go viral. I want some of my students' writing or creative projects to go viral. I want some guy in South Korea to give my students the ultimate grade on a project and say, that's cool. And the students will just eat that up.
Kelly, I think that is one of the best answers I've ever had on our program. With your middle school classes, are you teaching how to blog versus how to write a term paper? Should we be teaching both mediums?
Absolutely. I've always been an advocate for never silencing a student. So if students speak within different social groups, and so when they're with their friends, they're going to speak in their slang and have their text messaging lingo, and they're going to have the words that they have with their friends. I don't want to say, no, that's not communication. I want to tell them that's communication. That's fantastic communication within that small social group. As an English teacher, I want to empower them, to give them the ability to speak in numerous social groups. So there is a social language of the work world, the professional world, of factories. I know, Jeff, that you're very much into music, and you have your own lingo there, and there's a certain proper way to speak. And as my job is to find out what the students' interests are and where they want to go, and try to lead them to discover how they can empower themselves to learn that language, no matter what it is. If they want to be I don't discard any dream. If they want to be an athlete, I want to empower them to speak within that community of athletes, and that's what teaching is. I think too long we've painted a narrow road of what success really is, and with technology and I hate to say it, with pulp media like what's the television show where it was a musical, high school musical,
Glee.
And Glee. Two great examples of demonstrating that students have multiple talents. And when I was a young man, I was very much interested in art, but art was something that was kind of quieted by my parents and teachers. It just wasn't viewed as something that anybody could ever be successful with. And so I was, put on different roads and different tracks. And nowadays, I think with shows like that and teachers like you and hopefully teachers like me, kids can understand that, okay, I can be really good at math, and I can be a musician, and I can be an athlete. And all three of these components can go together, and not only go together, they can work in harmony. And that's the beauty of the educational environment that we live in today, I believe.
I was reading through some of my Twitter feeds today, and it came across this blog post about, should we be encouraging our kids or helping our kids to create their own brands? We always foster the kid going out and being the football star or the track star, but, even at middle school, we can teach them how to foster their own identity. How do you feel about stuff like that?
Well, I'll be right up front with it. Whether we get involved in it or not, they are creating a brand. Students do create brands, and they always have. And I think we need to put that out front and say, I am very much into technology, and I have 4 daughters, but right now I don't allow my daughters to have a Facebook page. There's so much drama at their school right now that I don't feel that we want to create this drama at home as well. But I do own my children's URL names, domain names. They all have Twitter names. I have secured all those for them because I know that will be a big part of their life. But when students come into the classroom, let's take a high school student, and they have a Facebook page, and they have a Twitter account, and they've already created this digital footprint of who they are with their interests and things. Jeff, employers are Googling employees. It's just it's the way things are. I coached for 18 of the 20 years, and I remember athletes missing games because of just stupid things they posted on their Facebook page, a party they were at or something like that. And so this brand or this digital footprint is being created. And I think we need to, I hate to keep using the word empower, but we need to empower and teach the student to, they need to control that other people can find out what they're doing and see who they are. And what is it you want to put out there? What do you want to put out front? And for the students that may not be into the social media like that as well, I think they understand brands very well. And I think they want a brand, but depending on the age group, the students I work with, they all want to be under the same brand. They want to look alike, and they want to sound alike, and they don't want this identity yet. And that might be more of a high school thing. Those are just my thoughts on it. And I'd probably have to think them through a little bit more, but that's kind of how I feel about it initially.
Are you a big advocate of students going out and trying to make money off of this brand at middle school, high school level?
Well, I guess when I use the word brand, I'm not always thinking about it for a monetary gain. But I think it can come to that. I don't think anyone, regardless of what they're doing to chase a dream, should put profit out front. I think if someone's interested in music or interested in artwork or speaking or anything like that, they're doing it because it's a love. And once they've given and once they've received some recognition by that and an opportunity arises to profit from it, absolutely. I see nothing wrong with that. And it just opens up more lessons for to learn. But, the publishing world is about to go heels over head now with the EPUB format that you and I can create EPUB books. And, anybody can sell anything on Amazon and eBay and things like that. And kids are doing it. I just read an article the other day about the first time they had a hackers convention, and there was like an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old kid that were 2 of the stars at it. And that just amazes me. I got a 7-year-old downstairs, and she's playing with Barbies, and here I am supposed to be so into technology. How do these kids learn that, and how are they turning a profit from it? So, don't necessarily put the profit out front, but why close the door to it? I see no point in that. It's better than a paper route.
Let's turn the tables a little bit to talking about your classroom. Your website, MrCroy.com, is an amazing little journey through your teaching process. I'm looking right now at the podcast page, and it shows you, obviously in class, you've got the kids in front of you, and you turn the computer on, and you talk to them about their homework assignment, and then it seems like you post that on their website.
Right. Yeah. And, I'll tell you another great one is our CBL class, project-based learning. It's pblquest.com. But on mrcroy.com, that's probably how I first, I'd say, in a really interesting way, started using technology in the classroom, was creating podcasts for my students. And nothing as extravagant as the podcast that you're doing tonight. These are just things that I would capture on an iPod or a MacBook, record it, and upload to my personal website, and my students would actually download them. And you have students that are out of class, that miss the lecture or miss the talk or the experiment or the guest speaker or whatever, who get it. And then there's kids that, like me, when I was in school, I just need to hear things twice. I need to hear things more than once. And podcasts gives us that ability to do it. And then it goes to video podcasts, and now we're annotating podcasts. And I'm sure you could teach me quite a few things more about podcasts. I think YouTube and other things are doing like closed captioning and things like that, and with all the video editing and stop motion and all these different things, digital creations, digital storytelling, podcasting stuff, it can be as simple as just hitting record on a device and capturing something live with all the mistakes, coughs, and sneezes, or it can be a major production that rivals some things that we see on television. Amazing stuff.
Take us behind the scenes a little bit. As I'm looking at MrCroy.com, your website is done on what project? What program?
It's about to go obsolete. It's something by Apple called iWeb. I absolutely love. You'll still be able to use iWeb, but with the new iCloud coming through, they've stopped. It's not a program I'm not sure you can get anymore, and it's hosted. You can host it any way you want. But mine was hosted through MobileMe, which will end June of 2012.
Okay, so iWeb is a simple program. We all have it. To make the videos, you're doing that with what program?
I'll be honest with you, I like to keep things very simple. Most of the time when I'm capturing something in class, earlier in the program I said I first thing I tell teachers is you don't have to do things differently. And the nice thing about iPods and MacBooks is when you pull up a photo booth or iMovie or something like that, it gives you very few choices. You just hit a button called record, and I start talking just like I would normally to my class, and I capture it. And my philosophy has always been, even if I cough or make a mistake or something like that, that's what the students would have heard anyways. And I could invest a lot of time in trying to get those out and things, but it's authentic. It's what it was, and I can move on to all the other things that I enjoy doing. If I'm going to do something for a big event, I will clean and polish that up. If I know something that a lot of people are going to go back to again and again. But I try to keep my podcast very real, like my class. And that's just how I do it. So basically I use iPods. I use iMovie. I use probably the simplest way to do it is Photo Booth. I do most of my video capturing in Photo Booth. It's very simple, and you just drag it in. I use iMovie a lot to edit things up, and GarageBand, great way to capture just audio.
Have you tried those programs on your iPad yet?
Yes.
How do they work?
Oh, I love them. I tell you, and the first thing when I show iPads to people, Jeff, is they want to know. They say, well, what can a laptop do that the iPad can't do, or vice versa? Mm-hmm. And my first response is, the iPad can do a lot of things a laptop can't do, simply because, in my opinion, there's more software written for the iPad. There's little iStop motion video cameras, and there's one I absolutely love. It's called Silent Film Director. And I think it's a great way for digital storytelling for students to tell a story without sound. And they use music, they use body language and text, and that's how they tell a story. And I'm sure you could do that in iMovie, but the little app for the iPad and the iPod Touches just makes it simple, concise, and just it serves that single purpose. And these single purpose apps are cheap, and they're extremely powerful. And students can create powerful digital content, quickly and get it out there, and it looks just great. And they're really proud of it. Love it.
So how do we encourage our students to look at this content? I remember at the beginning of every year, and I think it's probably going to end up happening this year, where I get up and I talk to the kids and the parents at back to school night saying, I've got a Twitter bar, I've got a website, and it's so easy. You can look at your website from your phone,
Right.
How do you get the kids to buy into the concept of keeping a Twitter feed or checking a website, or how do we foster this behavior?
Well, that's great, and it's going to be different for every teacher and for every student. But Jeff, I think looking at TeacherCast right now as I speak with you, and just kind of knowing who you are, I think you'd be very good at it. and it's you got to create something people want to come to. You know, in my class, I teach in a very unique educational environment. I team teach with two other teachers, another English teacher and a history teacher, and we're in a very large room, and we're one-to-one MacBooks, and we have some iOS devices. But what we've done is we've created a website using iWeb called PBL for Project-Based Learning, pblquest.com. And our students begin their day there. And not only do they begin their day there, it's a place that, you know, we'll take pictures probably daily and post them on there. And they don't know which ones we're going to post. We make funny videos. The social studies teacher and I, we make funny videos like public service announcements, you know, like be prepared for class. And we post those on there. We post our homework assignments and links to other things. And so what we've done, Jeff, is we created a digital hub, an entry point for them to, if they want to go to their Wikispace page, they go to pblquest.com and then it links over. If they want to check their grades, it goes there first. And so it's almost like your cable television channel, you know, that displays all the messages and things like that. It's that scrolling bar that pops up. And so our students walk into the room and they fire up their MacBooks, and it's already the home screen. And they read the quote for the day, the message that's going to be on there. And I can't say every student is excited to get there, but students love to see their work posted up there. They love to see their photos, and they love to see fun things. And that's what we try to do. The bigger challenge for me, Jeff, has been to get parents involved. We tried to create a Facebook page just for parents to try to keep them up to date. We tried to create some Twitter accounts to keep parents up to date, and I know they're into that. I see them with their phones and stuff, but the response was poor. I was a little disappointed by the parents. I'm not sure. That's something I'm going to work harder on for next year.
Kelly, you seem like you have your whole act together. 20 years of teaching, you've got some great stuff going on for you, and looking over your bio, it's almost like you were setting yourself up for this success at a very early age. The one thing I gotta just tell everybody that kind of pops out over everything is you're an Eagle Scout.
Yeah, I'm very proud of that. Thank you, Jeff.
How did that happen? Because that doesn't happen overnight. I can tell you that one for sure.
Right. Well, I'm very proud of being an Eagle Scout, and I consider it the secret to my success, to be quite honest with you. Scouting is a very important program for young men for a lot of reasons. One, they talk about leadership. Every page in the book, every meeting you go to, leadership's put out there, and it's put on a pedestal, and it's important. And a quote that I love to use is, leadership doesn't just make a difference, it is the difference. And so you want to be a leader, and it's also it's goal oriented. You want to earn things, you want to advance. And I look at my students when they come in, and one of the first things I do each year is I want to know their dreams. That's so important to me as a teacher. I want to know what their dreams are, because if I know my students' dreams, I know I can get them excited about literature, and I know I can get them excited about writing and whatever it is that I need to teach. But I have to know their dreams. And the scary thing is, I have a lot of students coming in with two very bad beliefs. One is they don't know their dreams. They just don't know. When I was a kid, if you asked me what my dreams were, you better had a lot of paper, because I would have filled both sides of it up. There's so many things I wanted to become. And so that's a little scary to me. And I think scouting would kind of fix that. And the second thing is that students don't believe anymore that they can become anything they want. And scouting told me that I can become anything I want to be. And so did my parents, and they were big supporters of that. I could go on and on for a very long time. Scouting placed me with mentors, some very interesting men in our community who donated their time that were very successful. And in and out of scouting, they looked after me. They created opportunities for me. And the rank of Eagle has opened so many doors for me, including my job. I've been teaching in the same school for 20 years, and I have to tell you, I was hired by a Marine that served in Vietnam, and he told me straight up, one of the most interesting things on my resume was the fact that I was an Eagle Scout. I could go on and on about scouting. It's disappointing to me to see that it's not as important in some communities as it was in mine, that it's not supported in homes and schools, but clearly one of the greatest things that ever happened in my life. So I appreciate you pointing that out. I like to do anything I can to encourage young men to become scouts and to pursue the rank of Eagle. And it's just a great, great program.
I couldn't echo that one more. I got to tell you, I'm a third-generation Eagle Scout. My dad's an Eagle, my uncle's an Eagle, my grandfather's an Eagle. My great-grandfather would have been an Eagle Scout had they had the Eagle program. But my dad's a third. I think he's either a third or a second-generation Silver Beaver winner. And
wow.
Scouting goes really back. I got my Eagle Scout at 14. And
wow, what a legacy! Congratulations to you. That's quite an accomplishment.
And I love it when the kids come up and they ask me to help them out with their projects or sign some more certificates and awards. Do you remember how many merit badges you had?
I don't remember. I really don't.
But I think it's great that you said that scouting set you up to do anything that you wanted to. And you became a teacher, 20 years. You've got 4 wonderful daughters.
Yes, I do.
And then you kind of said, well, let's expand that a little bit. And you started a performance show, correct?
Right. Kind of like you, Jeff, with TeacherCast, and I know you're a conductor and you do things like that. Being a coach and a teacher and loving to talk like I do, very early on in my teaching career, people started asking me to attend dinners and social events and to give talks. They loved the inspiration that I was providing for their children. And they, when I would have parent-teacher conferences, I guess it didn't really matter that I was 21 years old. I would also inspire the parents as well to do a better job or to get more involved. And so I started receiving these opportunities. And I don't know how you are with your music, but with my art, I can't talk to somebody unless I'm doodling on a piece of paper. Mm-hmm. And I love cartooning. And, one of the dreams that I always wanted to do when I was a kid was to become a cartoonist. And so I'm always doing these funny cartoons. And I started speaking at a few events, and I got a large tablet of paper and just started to draw a couple cartoons in the midst of my talk because it generated a lot of laughter and it gave the people something to keep. And I really thought for a long time about how I could expand that. And I ran across a few people that were doing something pretty unique, and it was a chalk art presentation. And I don't want to take up your night, but in short, my art presentations have evolved now where I work on a 6-foot by 8-foot canvas that's spotlit, and I do an artistic performance that's choreographed to music. And then the real fun at the end is I bring the landscapes to life with computer animation. And it's pretty amazing because the art that I draw on the screen itself becomes animated with birds and people and boats and airplanes and things like that. And everything matches up just perfectly. And people always want to know, well, how did you get that guy to walk on that spot at the exact time? And I tell them, of course, it's just magic. And then I don't speak while I do the art. The speaking comes afterwards or before, but the art presentation is unique in itself. And I just really like the fact that I'm not a musician, but I really love music and I really love movie soundtracks, and I use a lot of movie soundtracks in my presentations. And I'm just so happy that, one, that people ask me to come and do this, but two, that I get to combine everything that I love, teaching, artwork, music, public speaking, all rolled up into one, and computer animation and computer stuff all rolled up into one, and bring joy to people. And it's not bad that I get paid for it as well. Supporting a family of 5 women isn't always easy. But I mentioned to you earlier, as a teacher, I want to help my students achieve their dreams. And I don't think there's any better way I can do that other than by showing them that I'm chasing mine. And, I am very happy being a teacher, but when I speak on a stage and share my art, it's just a bigger classroom. That's all I'm doing. I'm still a teacher. And my students get very excited when I walk up to the chalkboard because I use chalk in my presentations, and now I just wonder if they're going to get a show in class. But that's fun. The kids look at me and they're like, okay, this guy is trying to do something. I'm going to try too. And that helps them, that helps them a lot. And I'm not the kind of guy that sits around and watches a lot of television shows and things like that. I always have some new project I'm working on. And that's exactly what I want my students to be. And so we model the behavior that we want our students and our children to pursue. So thanks for letting me share that.
No, I think it's absolutely great. I mean, once a teacher, always a teacher. Once an Eagle Scout, always an Eagle Scout. And,
I agree. Yes.
And that's just going back to everything here. You have the teaching, you have the teacher cast, you have the conducting. It's really neat seeing somebody else doing that same jack of all trades kind of mentality.
Yeah, and one of the little expressions that always kind of put a little kink in my side, Jeff, is when they say those who can't teach. And I've always been a firm believer that, being a little cocky too, those who teach can do anything is my response. And I look at, teachers that I work with, and truly, you are a great example of that. Teachers have to be so multi-talented. I mean, think of a grammar teacher or a mathematics teacher or really any teacher. You're going to have a number of students who have to be in your class who cannot stand what it is that you're going to talk about. And so our jobs are, one, we've got to provide on the very basic level some sort of entertainment level. We've got to provide some sort of understanding. And so that's where all these talents come out in all teachers. And, I would love to just contact Donald Trump and say, you put together your best group of corporate people and let me pick some teachers and we'll go head to head. And I guarantee we'd win the show. We'd win The Apprentice hands down. Teachers have to be able to do these things. And the best ones will say they can't do any of it, and they really do it all. They are just multi-talented people. They're performers and humorists and comedians and artists and musicians and everything. It's amazing. I love teachers. Always have. Knew I was going to be a teacher from a very young age.
I think it's interesting that there's that philosophy of if those who can't teach, because in the music field we have the same thing, which is those who can't conduct. And so I always feel like no matter which profession I'm leaning towards at the time, the stigma is always, well, he can't do it.
That's funny. Well, I don't know much about music and conducting, but I would just imagine a conductor has to know every instrument extremely well. Am I right there?
Yeah, have to know a lot about a lot of things, actually.
Yeah, so that's crazy. But, in education, and I suppose the same is true of music, a lot of people feel that they're an expert because they went to school at one time in their life. And a lot of people probably feel they know a lot about music because they own a lot of CDs. And there's so mumuch more involved.
I always say that I learned the most about teaching in my years 4, 5, 6, and 7. Because the first couple of years, you're not there yet. You're just trying to figure out how to get around the building and how to make a lesson plan. And I'm we're just not at that point, at least in my career, where I'm opening my eyes and saying, "Oh, you can do all these things." Let's talk a little bit about what it takes or what it means to you to be an Apple Distinguished Educator. Tell us about that.
Well, that's great. The Apple Distinguished Educator was a surprise to me this past year. I don't hide it. I'm a big fan of Apple products because I think they make the most innovative software and devices around. I think they're great. I think they're a perfect match for education. And this year, I was recognized by Apple as an Apple Distinguished Educator, and I wasn't exactly sure of what all that meant. I knew it was an honor. I submitted a video and some lessons that I had done, and I was amazed that I was accepted. And, unlike a lot of other awards and recognition, the Apple Distinguished Educator is it's more of a duty. It's more of a responsibility. They flew me out to Phoenix, Arizona. We met for a week at the Walter Cronkite School for Journalism, and we were given the task of creating digital content for iTunes University. I don't know if you're familiar with iTunes K-12 University, but it's a fantastic resource for teachers. It's all free. And we are in the process of doing that. We have a September 30th deadline, I believe, to get our projects finished. And then it's an ongoing responsibility that we will serve as advocates of Apple technology. We'll serve as advisors to people, that we will serve as authors of blog posts and video creation and things like that, and that we work with other people like you and other teachers who have a real interest in using technology in education. And with that, they provide us with some pretty cool tools and some pretty awesome opportunities to go and speak, to try out software, different things like that. I'm really tickled that I was accepted and have been invited into this wonderful ADE, Apple Distinguished Educator community. I have met the most amazing teachers. I like to pat myself on the back and think that, I've done some cool things in my years of teaching. But the people I've met that are ADEs, wow, they just set the bar very high for me. And so it's a great because, around here I am, one of the guys really into technology. And when I'm around these other ADEs, well, I'm just another dog in the pack. And so I like that. I like that challenge of, okay, I've got to work really hard because I've been recognized for this. And so that's what I really think it is. It's not like a trophy that you put on the shelf and you look at. It's they have expectations for it. And I'm really excited. The next opportunity for an American to become an ADE will be 2013. There's only been about 315 teachers, maybe 400 from the United States that have ever been accepted out of 1,500 total in the world. And it's a kind of an elite community, and I think a guy like you and other teachers that are interested in technology and Apple products should apply. Get your lessons, get your videos, find out what an ADE is, and go for it. Not just to receive the recognition, but to contribute in a bigger way. There is a revolution going on in education, and it's being led in a big part by technology, and I want to be part of that revolution.
Well put, Kelly.
Thanks.
Kelly, we want to say thank you for coming on the show today. This has been an amazing experience and a great time here.
Well, I think you are just an awesome guy. I wish and maybe I will, turn the tables on you and interview you for Wired Educator. I've never done a podcast like this. Maybe we can do a written format or something. But I feel like I'm talking to a younger me. You have so many interests. I can tell that you are so genuine and authentic, and that you really want to make a difference in not just your students, but in other teachers. And that's really a teacher. I applaud you for creating TeacherCast and putting yourself out there with your conducting and everything else. That's what we need. That's what we need. A lot of people shy away from things like that. I say no. We've got to get it out there. Life is short. We're dead a very long time, but we're made for more. And we need to use everything that we've given, every talent. And so I thank you very much for having me on tonight. And I'm sure our paths will cross again and again. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. And if you're ever in Philadelphia, stop on by.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you, Jeff.
We always end the show by asking our guests to give a little shout out for themselves and tell us how to find you. So where can we find you, Kelly?
Well, pretty easy. We talked about branding earlier. About everything I do is Kelly Croy. If you want to see my speaking and my art presentations, you can go to kellycroy.com. I have a WordPress blog, Kelly Croy. You can find me on Twitter, Kelly Croy. My Facebook page is Kelly Croy, but my art presentation is Facebook and /chalk art. Just Google me. You'll find me. You've mentioned and listed my websites there. But what I'd really like is, rather than just people clicking and taking a look, I love to respond to people. Send me some words on Twitter or one of my blogs or an email, and I'll respond to it. I'm a pretty real guy. So if you got a tech question, if you think I might be the person that can answer it, I really will. So I look forward to people reaching out and asking me some questions.
Thanks for listening to the TeacherCast podcast. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, teachercast.net, to your friends and colleagues. We can be found on Twitter at the screen name TeacherCast. Be sure to check out our iTunes channel for TeacherCast podcasts and app reviews that are beneficial to you, the 21st century educator. If you like what you hear, please write us a great review and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. This has been a TeacherCast production. Join us next time for another edition of the TeacherCast podcast.